Hello, my name is Sam Amidon. I am here in the Nonesuch Library, and we're going to take a look around and see what we can find. JUNUN by Shye, Tzur, Jonny, Greenwood, and the Rajasthan Express. Now this is a beautiful, fascinating, super cool collaborative record, and I have a connection to this record because I had the honor with my wife Beth Orton, the great musician. We went to the Jaipur Literature Festival and we jammed with a number of these deep musicians here. And it's one of these, it's not an easy thing to synthesize different forms of music, and they do it very profoundly and beautifully on this deep record. This is Natalie, master percussionist of Rajasthan. Astor Piazzolla, the American clave recordings. The one on here, Tango 0 Hour, was an album that my friend Thomas Bartlett and I discovered in our teens, amongst many other great Nonesuch records. And it just blew our minds because the ensemble playing was so deep, and we were playing a lot of folk music at that time. And you listen to records that have overdubbing or whatever, which is all fine, but when you hear an album that's just an ensemble creating so many different textures and moods and rhythms, it's very profound. And it was just, the whole tango vibe came from another world. I think we might have covered one of Astor Piazzolla's tunes in our folk group that we had at the time, and this is a beautiful album I've listened to for thousands of hours over my life. Oh, who's that? We have folk songs by the Kronos Quartet with this profound array of singers, Rhiannon, Giddens, Olivia, Chaney, Natalie Merchant, and it was such an honor. Kronos are some of my heroes, grew up listening to their records. To be part of this project. We did some concerts, we had some jams. I had Nico Muley doing my arrangements. I think Jacob Garchik and others did some of the others' arrangements. And Kronos were just so warm and cool when we did this project together. So, special record for me, for folk songs. Sam Gendel, Satin Doll. Profound album of jazz standards in a skewed, surrealist manner. I was in Los Angeles I realized it's 10 years ago now, and there was some young fellows who were playing jazz on Monday nights at the local restaurant, and it was Sam and some of his cohort. And Sam and I made a close connection, and he played on my Nonesuch record, The Following Mountain, in 2017, where we were joined by Milford Graves, Professor Milford Graves on percussion. So Sam's one of my favorite musicians, and I just listened to this on the airplane yesterday. This is a very special, super mysterious, cool record. What's this record? What's this beautiful green record? This is Rivers of Delight, American folk hymns from the sacred harp tradition by the Word of Mouth Chorus, factory sealed for your protection. And if you look on the back here, I don't know how far you can zoom in, but you can find Peter Amidon and Mary Alice Copeland, who soon became Mary Alice Amidon, in the choir. These are my parents. They were in their 20s. They discovered folk music in Cambridge. They discovered sacred harp music, which is an early American folk hymn tradition. And they joined Bread and Puppet Theater, and the Word of Mouth Chorus, which was directed by the great Larry Gordon, was the choir of the Bread and Puppet Theater. And right before they made this record, I think, it was not long before, they made a trip in their painted hippie bus in the mid-70s down to Georgia and Alabama, and they sang with some of the elder statesmen of the sacred harp tradition. And it was a very unlikely meeting of these young hippies with beards and long hair and these older Baptists in the mountains in Alabama, but they made a very, very close connection, and they came back singing the music totally differently because they had all come from different backgrounds, and when they heard the true sound, they got a lot from it. So this is one of my favorite albums of all time, even though I'm biased. We had this on record, it was always out in my house. And when I first came in to talk to David Byther and be here at Nonesuch Records, I said, hey, if I come here, I'll be second generation artist, because we got Peter Amidon and Mary Alice Amidon in the choir. One of my favorite albums, and there's a track on here called Parting Friends, which is just Peter and Mary Alice as a duet, which is worth checking out. Rivers of Delight. So here we have one of my most favorite and most life-changing records of all time, Good Dog, Happy Man by Bill Frisell. When I was a teenager, my best friend Thomas, who we were discovering a lot of music together, he was living in London for a year, and he was going to tons of concerts, and we would send mini discs back and forth with mixtapes on the mini disc of things we were discovering and finding since we were physically apart. And he sent me a couple tracks from this record on one of his mini disc mixtapes, and he said, I saw these guys play, and they're like, it's not jazz, but they're not folk musicians, and it's just like simple melodies, but so deep, and it was so mysterious to us. And we put it on, and it was like the music we'd been imagining, because we grew up playing folk music, but we were interested in more kinds of experimentation, and we loved jazz, but we weren't going to go all the way to that space as a genre. And this record was just like our dream music. It was literally the music we heard in our dreams, and probably listened to it a million times, became a huge Frisell fan, listened to all his other records, and have had the profound honor of playing with him in the last 10 years of my life, and in fact had him play on the album Lilio in 2014, so it's the 10-year anniversary of that album. So it's been one of the deep facts of my life to play with Bill, and this record is the Bible. It's the Bible for me. Thank you for joining me in the Nonesuch Library.